7 productivity tips for time management. By the end of this video, you will have 7 tips to go and start using to become more productive and to manage your time better. I'm Jono White, founder and principal consultant of Clarity. We work with leaders around the world, and it really helps us out when you subscribe, follow, like, share. So please do that so that more leaders can become the best they can be, and also so that you can stay in the loop with everything we produce around leadership, because we're always producing content around leadership. So 7 tips for productivity for time management. The first tip I would say is meetings. So you might think I'm about to say less meetings, but it's not about less meetings, it's about strategic meetings. And particularly for leaders out there, meetings should be a time saver. Let me say that again. Meetings should be a time saver long term. Okay, when you think about an issue that comes up in your world, whether it be in the work that you do or you're leading a team, how often is that issue a miscommunication? Think about it. How often is that issue some sort of miscommunication? A lot of the time, right? And so that's why meetings need to be, in my opinion, meetings are the best tool to use to save time when you're involved with multiple people. Because if you can do a strategic meeting and do it really well, it's going to save you time in the long run. It's going to nail down good communication. You just need to know how to do those meetings. So that's my second tip, productivity for time management. And once again, I'm focusing this on leaders, but even for those who you're just wanting tips for yourself in your own time management, there's a couple of different meetings I'd recommend. The first one is the people that you're working with or leading is to just check in with them daily. The second one is to have a weekly or fortnightly meeting. The third, where you just look at tactics. This is a Lencioni model, Patrick Lencioni. The third one is to get together and talk strategic whenever you need to. And the fourth is to be off-site once, twice, 3, 4 times a year for a leadership team, that is. And so you might want to apply those to yourself, though. In terms of your productivity and time management, how can you check in daily on what you're doing? I love the getting things done, the GTD it's called, process. There's a whole book on that called Getting Things Done. One of the things they talk about there is a weekly catch up, a weekly planning meeting, and I highly recommend that. Weekly, fortnightly, have your own meeting, and then get away on your own offsite. Schedule it once a quarter, once a year. Have a day where you go away offsite and think about the big things that you're doing, because that will help your productivity and time management. So they're the first 2 tips for productivity for better time management. 7 productivity tips for time management. Okay, the third one I want to mention to you is the idea of the Pareto principle. Pareto. Yeah, Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is the 80-20 rule. Basically, in every area of life, 20% of what's happening is producing 80% of the results. There or thereabouts. And for you in your world, the 80-20 principle is really powerful. So when you want to be more productive, always come back and as a starting point, if you're umming and ahhing, go 80-20. Whether it's on your wardrobe, whether it's on how you're spending your time, whether it's on the different exercise you're doing, whether it's on your diet, whether it's on your finances. What are the 20% of things that are really giving you 80% of the value or more? And try to go big on those and cut the 80%. That's the Pareto principle. Similar principle is the fourth one, similar in name. Instead of Pareto, it's the Pomodoro Technique. I love the Pomodoro Technique. Pomodoro Technique is a productivity tool for time management where you break up your day into smaller parts. So instead of just going, you know what, I'm just going to smash 8 hours out today, and then automatically feeling like I've got so much to do and it's just this endless road in front of me. Pomodoro Technique says take 15 minutes, 25 minutes. I particularly like 25 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, depends on the task you're wanting to break up. And then you have a small break or rest. It might be 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, depending on how long you're working. And the rhythm that you learn, and you do get into this as you do it as a habit, is you set your alarm, 25 minutes and then a 5-minute break. And in this 25 minutes, I'm going to go all out. And that end of the 25 minutes, I'm going to have my clock there in front of me. I know that even if I'm feeling demotivated, even if I've got 10 minutes left, I'm just going to try to power through for the next 10 minutes. And then once you hit the deadline, you stop and you do something rewarding, whether that's doing some stretches, whether that's going for a walk around the block just to move, whether that's going and getting a glass of water and just moving around. So I find that really helpful. That's the Pomodoro Technique. That's the fourth productivity tool. And I'm really a big fan of time management. I love all things productivity and time management. The fifth one I'd say is to measure your time. Measure your time. I love a good app, a to-do list app, and I find that that's an incredibly helpful productivity tool for me when it comes to time management, is using a great app. At the moment, I'm using an app called Strides, and I'm finding that really helpful. And the reason is I don't want to just rely on my brain to manage my time. Okay, we'll get to that in a second in terms of, but that's the next tip, which I'm going to really highly recommend. But connected with this, in terms of using my brain, there are inbuilt ways that our brain, the chemistry of our bodies works, where we actually get rewarded when we do something, when we tick something off. I don't know what you're like, but when I tick something off in my app, it gives me like a little kick. It's like an endorphin. It's like it feels good. There's something about completing something. And so if you want to become more productive in your time management, then be strategic, create some things in an app where you then tick them off, even shopping or whatever task it is. And the more you do that, the better your time management's going to be. That takes us through to number 6. And number 6 is calendars. Hey, particularly if you are in a relationship, then joint calendars are fantastic. If you are a CEO or you're in the C-suite and you have an executive assistant, then you want them to be completely managing your calendar as much as you can. There are some people who say, I like to manage my own calendar. And I think, well, if you really want to be as productive as you can and have the best time management possible, don't you want to hire someone exceptional to do that for you, to free you up to do other things? That's just my opinion. But even if it's just you by yourself and you're wanting to know how can I be more productive and manage my time better, use your calendar. There are great tools out there in terms of using reminders and putting things in a calendar. And even if you're just getting started in your professional life in a job, then put some, start using a calendar. I use Google Calendar. I love it. Everything's in there. It's just really easy for me to just have a quick look and know exactly what I've got going on. It's definitely not perfect, but I can't imagine not having a calendar. So that's my 6th productivity tip for time management. My 7th productivity tip for time management is a bit different. This tip is to give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. If you're anything like me, and the fact that you're watching this might mean that you love productivity, you love time management, want to be the best, I want to do the best I can, I have a high standard. Well, give yourself some grace. And the key way I'm learning this at the moment is to really be aware of how you're feeling. Be aware of how you're feeling. Be aware when what you're doing is really in the zone and in the flow. And be aware when you're really demotivated. And ask yourself why. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't get up and do something. But I do think sometimes we need to give ourselves some grace. Go, you know what, I'm just not in the zone right now, and that's okay. And do it another time. Now, that's not a cop-out. That's an encouragement to say sometimes that's the best advice, and that's why that's the 7th tip for productivity for time management. So, once again, it really helps us out when you subscribe, follow, like, and share our content at Clarity. It helps more leaders to become the best they can be, which makes a difference in the world, makes the world a better place. And it also means that you will be in the loop with all the content around leadership that we're producing to help you become the best leader that you can be. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.